What's up, YouTube?
My name is Marek.
And my name is Kothney-Issa, and welcome to episode 2 of our series on building our tiny home community.
So last week we came out here, we showed you the property, the land, and some of the initial things we had to cover before we went under contract with it. This week we wanted to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the steps we took even before getting into the contract.
So before we went under contract, we actually had some companies, some tree clearing companies come out and look at the property and give us quotes. So we lined up about 3 for the first day, and the first guy came out and actually quoted us $20,000 to clear this property, just 1 acre of this property.
Yeah, we did a little bit of research before we even had companies come out just to get an idea of about how much it costs to clear land per acre. So coming into it, I actually was thinking like, man, if we could get this done for around $5,000, $6,000, that seems about reasonable and a fair price. So we didn't really know what exactly to expect, but we went ahead and lined up multiple tree services, tree companies to come out, take a look at the property back to back to back. So we did like a 10 o'clock, an 11 o'clock, a 12 o'clock, a 1 o'clock. And I think the benefit to that is that you get a lot of quotes done all in the same day, and you get to kind of pair, side by side what they're looking like. So like she said, the first one was 20,000, which we knew was, way out there.
Way out there.
I think that's why it's super important to, to do some research and figure out what's a good price so that, somebody couldn't just throw something out there and you just assume that that's just the cost of doing business and you go with it.
If y'all don't know, like, he is the master negotiator in the household. That's what I call him. So he came up with a really great strategy, and told the people who were actually willing to actually give us second quotes what the first quote was. And so everybody was trying to compete with each other. And then for the second quote, it was like, just give me your best offer, and I'm not going to share what everybody else is giving me. Give me your best offer, and I'm going to choose based off of that. And that really forces people to say, okay, I really want this job, so I'm going to give them what I will still be happy to do, but my very best price. And we've got all the way with that strategy, got all the way down to how much money?
5,700, 5,800, somewhere around there. And the thing about it is this, I'm honest. I'm not lying to the people. I'm not telling them anything that's not true. I told each one of them, I said, hey, these are where some of the initial bids are coming in. Just give me your best price, whatever price you feel 100% comfortable with, doing the job, happy to do the job, whatever your lowest is. Let me grab that, and then once I have that information from everybody, then I can kind of make a decision. So sharing the initial bid kind of helps all of the different contractors see in the ballpark of what some of the other quotes are. But then when you come back for that second offering, it's pretty much your best and final is what I'm asking everybody for. And I kept my word. I didn't share anybody else's second with somebody else to start a bidding war or anything like that. But, one thing is you want to get a great price, but at the same time, you want your contractor to be happy with what they're getting paid.
Because you want them to do a good job.
Yeah, you want them to do a good job. And so that was kind of how we structured it. And, I think it's a strategy that we'll use for other contractors. We're going to have a lot of different contractors by the time we're done with this whole project. And I think that's a strategy that we're probably going to go to. All right, so just to touch on a few other things that could impact the different prices and quotes that you get from different companies. A lot of it does depend on the equipment they have. Some companies can only do it for a certain amount because if they don't have the right equipment, it actually can take them longer to do the job. And because it's taking longer, they have to charge more. So that's something to consider. Another thing to consider is making sure that you're asking for the exact same work from every company, right? Don't tell one company that you're putting in a driveway and then for the other company, you don't mention the driveway, because every bit of ground, every square foot that they clear is part of their price. So you want to make sure that's accurate as well.
Yes. So some companies will come out and just cut the trees, and then you'll have to hire another company to come and do stump removal. So that could affect your price as well. We were lucky to find this guy that was going to do both. So he's not only going to cut down the trees, but also remove the stumps. And the reason why his price is so low is because of the fact that he also is using it for firewood. So that is one factor. Like, if you can find somebody that's actually going to use the wood and not just get rid of it, then you want to go with that person, because they most times will drop the price a lot lower. And sometimes when it's a large property, like 20 plus acres, they'll even pay you for it because it's so much wood that they can use and make money off of.
Yeah.
So,
and depending on the type of trees, if this property was full of oak trees, I'm sure we could get it cleared for zero money
Yeah.
because they can take those oak trees and repurpose them and make a ton of money off of the project. So they actually want it. But we have a lot of what they say, ash trees.
Ash trees and walnut trees.
No, not walnut.
I think we do have walnut trees. That's what the first guy said.
Oh. Yeah, we don't know anything about trees.
So you can go with stump grinding, where they just like get the stump as low as possible, and then you can, if you're just going to put a driveway over it, that's fine. But when you're going to actually build infrastructure, you want to make sure you get the stumps removed completely and get the roots out so that you can actually dig and not run into any issues when you're laying down your pipes and things like that. So that's really important to know what you're going to do on your property in the different areas.
One red flag I did want to point out is something that we learned while we we're going through this process is, one of the companies came out, and I'm not going to say any names. This is not to bash anybody, but I just want to educate folks that have never done anything like this, and just share what we're learning as we go. But one of the guys came out and, pretty much immediately upon arriving at the property, he said, nah, I can't do this job, but I got a good buddy that can probably do it, and he referred us to his friend, right? So we're like, okay, that's fine. Send us the information. He came back a couple hours later, and he had reached out to his friend, and he said, actually, my friend can't do the job, but I'd be willing to do the job for $15,000. So number one, the quote was, way too high, right?
He had quoted us lower when he first got on the property. He said, oh yeah, I think my friend can do it from between $8,000 to $12,000. And then he came back and said, oh, I can do it for 15.
Yeah. And so the red flag was, number one, he initially didn't even want the job, which tells me that he either, isn't comfortable doing it, he doesn't have the right tools to do it, or he's simply overbooked, all of which are not the kind of person you want to work with. And then, like she said, when he came back actually higher than his friend. And then, even after just sharing one other company's initial bid, he actually came down to almost half of what he asked for. And so, I mean, if somebody will quote you 15 and then change it to 8,500, with one email, it kind of shows you that they were just kind of throwing something out there and hoping to stick with the first bid. And, I don't know, I'm a straight shooter, and I like to, do business with people that are the same. And so that was kind of one of the reasons that we were able to eliminate that. So I just share these things, like I say, not to bash any companies or anything like that, but there's when you're new to something and it's a new project, these are things that I think people don't really know. And I don't think people should be taking advantage of. I don't think companies should be taking advantage of. So we just share it so that if anybody's out there thinking about a similar project in their area, and they need land clearance services, maybe this helps you with how you negotiate your deals.
So like we said it last week, we're not going to actually try to clear everything. We're going to focus on the brush first and see what kind of is out here, and then go from here. Now, I think the price could vary depending on how many trees we actually do want to get rid of, and the maturity level, I think, also has something to do with it. But we're just going to go in, kind of scope the area around, because once we actually got in here, we could see how not as dense it was as we thought. And so a lot of it is just a bunch of brush that needs to get cleaned up, and some smaller trees that are dead and kind of they don't look as good. So that could also change the price and come down a little bit more depending on how many trees they need to come out with. I would love to keep trees in between houses, but I think that's just going to be like impossible to plan around. Not impossible, but very, very difficult. So we're going to try to keep as many trees as possible, but we're still keeping in mind that we're going to have tiny homes like coming through, and we want to make sure there's enough space for them to back up and not have any like issues coming in and out of spots.
We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is episode 2 of our brand new series, Building a Tiny House Community. Yes. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.